Hey folks, welcome back once again. In the build-up to the 2020 elections, Decision 2020, I've been taking a closer look at the news, which, like many people around the world, I've been avoiding because the depressing nonsense with the Wuhan coronavirus, COVID-19, and the endless misreporting and fraudulent news and fake news that's out there. But the last couple of days, I've taken a closer look at the news. I did report on a segment, brilliant opening segment yesterday by Jesse Waters on Waters' Words, and shared that over the weekend. Tonight, I took a look for the first time in ages after hearing President Trump at his massive, massive rally in Florida. Wow, people as far as the eye could see, I'm sure that the left will lose their minds over that. But nonetheless, after having watched that, I did follow it up later watching Sean Hannity, whom I have not watched in a long time, watching his opening monologue. And in Hannity's opening monologue, wow, folks. You know, it happens so often that we simply forget it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about former Vice President Joe Biden, former Senator from Delaware, Joe Biden. You know, the guy that spent 47 years in government, and he is approaching 80 years of age. Folks, you know, people said it in a joking fashion, the numerous gaffes that he had, and laughed and made fun of the guy. You know, it was almost like watching Saturday Night Live once again. We used to watch Chevy Chase make fun of Gerald Ford tripping over himself in the Oval Office. That was a joke that really had no basis in reality, but the jokes that could be said about Joe Biden would just be endless. Fortunately, people have not been doing that. At this point, you have to wonder if someone ought to be charged with elder abuse. The gentleman clearly has some sort of issue. He can't remember things. He can't string things together. And in this opening monologue tonight, Sean Hannity really lays it out pretty clearly in about a 3-minute segment. I'm going to play here for you in just a moment, and then I'll offer some further analysis after you listen to that. But Hannity really puts the wood. Now, let's be honest. Sean Hannity is far from an unbiased, objective commentator, but it isn't the commentary that matters. It's the actual video clips, the things you hear, including several gaffes today, October 12th, Columbus Day, October 12th, 2020. Joe Biden made numerous gaffes, completely lost on the campaign trail, no idea what he was saying, and really, at some point, people ought to start to wonder, who's responsible for his health, and are you at all concerned about it? Certainly, they created fraudulent concerns about the sanity of Reagan when he came in office. They did the same thing to Donald Trump, famously citing psychiatrists who'd never even visited or had a conversation with Trump, saying that he was not mentally stable, and then trying to invoke the 25th Amendment just a few months back. Absolutely insane what the Democrats have done in this situation. But there's not a single comment, not a peep about the stability and mental health of the Democratic candidate for the office of president, who clearly, if Donald Trump has any smarts, will simply allow him to talk. If there happens to be another debate, just let Joe Biden talk. He will talk himself into a tongue twister and confuse all of us, folks. Anyway, here is the brief commentary from Sean Hannity and the clips involved.
2 days until you are the ultimate jury and the election takes place. Let's turn back to the campaign trail where Joe Biden has finally mustered up the courage to leave his basement bunker for a few hours. In fact, Joe even left his home state of Delaware today, a rare occurrence for the weak, frail, cognitively struggling Democrat. And needless to say, he was totally overwhelmed. At one point, he confused Robert Byrd with Ted Kennedy. At another point, Joe could not even remember Senator Mitt Romney's name, referring to him as that Mormon. Watch this.
You may remember, I got in trouble when we were running against the senator who was a Mormon, the governor, okay? And I took him on. No one's face to be questioned.
The Mormon guy, the Mormon, hold these truths to be something all men are created equal, that by the thing, whatever, the thing, God, the creator of everything. So that's how Biden's day began, and it only got worse from there. Mr. Joe 30330 once again struggling to literally completely promote a campaign website. And by the way, maybe somebody on his staff might want to remind the ever forgetful Joe that he's running for president. He's not running for senator. Keeps forgetting. Forgets the day of the week. Forgets what office he's running for. He's running for president, not senator. Somebody remind him. Take a look.
You know, we have to come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. So vote! Vote! Visit iwill.com/Ohio. God bless you.
Can somebody tell Joe By the way, it's not a real website. And Joe, you're running for president, not senator. And by the way, that senator, the Mormon guy, is Mitt Romney, not some Mormon governor. Now, sadly, what we showed you, that's just from a couple of hours today. Because every time that Joe actually leaves the basement bunker and stays out past 10 a.m., well, disaster ensues. Here's a quick reminder.
Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330. We choose truth over facts. Play the radio. Make sure make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear words. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical.
This is pretty serious.
Well, Sean is hardly an unbiased or completely objective commentator, calling former vice presidential candidate Joe Biden weak, fragile, and cognitively struggling. While he may be biased, it's difficult to argue with that assessment, even though he comes from one side of the aisle. Anyone looking at this objectively will have to question what the heck is going on. Just today, three major stumbles again. One of them saying he couldn't remember the name of Senator Mitt Romney, whom his running mate ran against just a few short years ago, and who sits in the Senate now, calling him that senator, that Mormon, the governor. Wow, Mitt Romney. A lot of Republicans can tell you who Mitt Romney is because they consider him a turncoat and a traitor. In fact, some Republicans sardonically are actually happy that Mitt Romney did not win against Barack Obama, because he would have turned out to be worse because he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. At least with Barack Obama, we knew that he hated this country and intended to destroy it. Mitt Romney simply has turned out to be part of the establishment in many respects. And so I think a lot of Republicans were happy that in the end, after we learned who Romney really was, that he didn't become elected. But that aside, today, aside from that, Joe 30330, as he famously said in a Democratic debate in 2019, Joe 30330, referring to texting him. Anyway, so the 12th of October, 2020, he refers to Mitt Romney as that Mormon. Ouch, that's dangerous. Be careful there. And then he also, while on the stumping trail today, said that he's a proud Democrat running for the Senate. No, Joe, we know you did that endlessly over and over and over and over again, earning a seat somehow in Delaware, sitting in the Senate. But you're not running for Senate. You're running for president, not for senator. Yeah. So the folks in Toledo, Ohio, those who managed to show up for this event probably were perplexed, but maybe not. And then the most puzzling of all, as he got lost in his delivery, he said, visit iwill.com/Ohio. Folks, I've just taken a look at the iwill.com/Ohio, and surprise, surprise, it's not a website. I think maybe the website is I Will Vote. I don't know. I didn't check that one out. But yet another major gaffe. We have to start to wonder about the gentleman's mental acuity. And I know this is simply an attack on Joe Biden. Got plenty of attacks on his feckless policy and his changing positions. He's more of a flip-flopper than John Kerry ever was. Remember, John Kerry famously voted for the Iraq bill before he voted against it, flip-flopping and making that phrase quite famous. Joe Biden's flip-flops are just epic and unbelievable, particularly on things like fracking and now the silence on packing the court and other things like that. But some of the highlights of the past year in which someone ought to have taken a close look at his mental health. Look at how the media endlessly freaks out over Donald Trump's health. Not fair enough. He's the sitting president, and we should be concerned about the sitting president's health. But the nonsense that goes on, making things up. Well, he's faking his COVID test. Oh, he's a super spreader. He's dangerous. Seriously. The man is in excellent health for a 74-year-old. His cognitive abilities are quite strong. Did you see him on the stump tonight on the campaign trail in Florida for an hour just riffing? Of course, he was reading for teleprompter, but he was breaking into the teleprompter, adding his own comments to it as he went along. Did you see the little jig there at the end when he was dancing to YMCA and his back to us? It's pretty good. Quite sprightly for his age, despite being a bit portly. The president seems to be quite well and has kicked Wuhan coronavirus COVID-19 has kicked its bum and is on the trail again. Amazing, amazing health for that man. While at the same time, we have an opponent running against him who can't string together 3 sentences. It's very serious concern. And Hannity is right in his comments to question what's going on with Joe Biden here. Of course, Hannity, as I said, is not exactly unbiased, but we don't need Hannity to tell us this. But we did see Hannity's clip reminding us of some of the highlights of Joe Biden's super gaffes. Of course, on Super Tuesday, calling it Super Thursday. Remember that famously? And in the same conversation, trying to talk about unalienable rights given by God, he said, he stumbled and said, you know the thing. You know the thing. What thing, Joe? What are you talking about? And then the one I always love is we choose truth over facts. Excuse me. Aren't facts truthful? Wouldn't you rely on facts to determine truth rather than supposition, innuendo, rumor? But we choose truth over facts. Do you really? You choose what you call truth, I guess. And then one of his most famous gaffes, which the press has never really put him on the spot for, is just absolutely shameful. And it shows you the true personality of Jim Crow Joe, the man who venerated Robert C. Byrd, a Kliegel of, or Kliegel, whatever they call them. I don't even know what the term is. A high grand wizard or some nonsense like that in the KKK, Robert Byrd of West Virginia. He venerated the man, as did Hillary Clinton. And that tells you who these people really are. They're friends. Not just friends, but friends. They went to the funeral and celebrated them. But remember this famous gaffe that Joe Biden made. Poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids. Excuse me? Okay, what kind of idiotic racial life do you have in your brain? Poor kids. Poor kids are not anything but poor kids, and they come from all ethnicities. Native Americans, whites, blacks, Asians, Hispanics, all include poor kids. But by implication, Joe Biden is saying that all black children are poor, which is utter nonsense. I'm sure the Johnson family, the billionaires that own BET, probably would take offense calling their children poor, as would Magic Johnson's kids. Yes. Anyway, there you have it, folks. Poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids, according to Joe Biden. But today, folks, once again, Joe 30330, Joe 30330 had 3 major gaffes today. As Hannity said, in a rather unkind fashion, if he's out past 10 a.m., he's bound to have a lot of mistakes. Today, calling that senator, the Mormon, the governor, of course, we're talking about Mitt Romney, who's currently a senator from Utah, former governor of Massachusetts. But Mitt Romney, also the organizer of the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, and a failed presidential candidate. But that's who he's talking about, that Mormon. Now, if Trump addressed his opponent as that Catholic or that Jew or that Muslim, woo, they'd lose their minds, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they? But not a peep out of the press about his referring to his former opponent of sorts. It wasn't really his opponent because he was running for president, but he addressed it that way. His former adversary as that Mormon. Yeah, okay. And then also mentioning on the stump that he was running, proud Democrat running for the Senate. No, Joe Biden, you're running for president, and maybe that's part of the problem. And then finally, the most strange gaffe of all today, visit iwill.com/Ohio. Folks, you have to wonder about the cognitive abilities of the man. You have to wonder what's really going on here. Now, as I said, Sean Hannity is hardly an unbiased commentator, but he doesn't hide that. He's in the tank for Donald Trump. He's been in the tank for Donald Trump from the day one. So there's no question about that. But that's not the germane issue here. The germane issue here is the fact that at least somebody in the media, since the news refused to do it, at least a commentator is offering some commentary on the situation. And in fact, maybe we have some elder abuse here. An elderly gentleman who's being pushed in a direction, and no one is pointing out the challenges here. It's as if the emperor is wearing no clothes and nobody has the audacity or the courage to tell the emperor that he's walking around naked. And as I've jokingly said, when I graded the presidential debate, I did say that Donald Trump got a B- for his performance because I thought it was less than ideal. And I gave Joe Biden a C+, but mostly because he showed up on stage wearing trousers. I said that in a sardonic manner, joking about it, but it's a serious concern. There's something seriously wrong here. Either Joe Biden is playing the greatest game of being the artful dodger, or, well, that's really a thief, so he's not really the artful dodger, but I don't know, just a cantankerous guy that doesn't know what he's saying, and suddenly his cognitive abilities will switch on once he wins the election, or there are going to be 40 to 60 million Americans who waste their vote on a man that can't string 3 sentences together. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. If you're not a subscriber to Chris Wyatt Africa, I ask you to take a moment and subscribe by pushing that subscription button right down there. And feel free to leave a comment if you like. I try to review all comments if possible. It's not always possible. Lots of people comment. And finally, I ask that you smash the like button because likes drive viewership. And that really makes a difference as we try to get the word out about events in Africa, around the world, and here in the U.S. on our political scene. So thank you so much for tuning in. God bless and have a good day.